Have you ever walked out of someone's home feeling more drained than when you walked in? You may have gone in expecting a pleasant visit, maybe even looking forward to some lighthearted conversation, but instead you left feeling emotionally depleted, mentally scattered, or just inexplicably low. As we get older, how we spend our time, and more importantly, who we choose to spend it with, matters more than ever. Time becomes more precious, and our emotional energy more limited. The truth is, not all social visits are harmless or worthwhile. In fact, some of them can quietly erode our well-being without us even realizing it. Certain interactions, especially in environments that feel tense, demanding, or emotionally heavy, can weigh on us long after the visit is over. These aren't just bad moments. They're energy leaks that chip away at our peace of mind and overall happiness. Unfortunately, many people continue visiting certain homes out of habit, obligation, or a sense of politeness instilled over the years. We often push down our discomfort, telling ourselves it's the right thing to do. But the older we get, the more essential it becomes to recognize which relationships enrich us, and which ones quietly take more than they give. In this video, we're going to explore 4 types of people whose homes you should think twice about visiting, especially after age 70. No matter how much free time you might have in retirement, your energy, your peace, and your emotional health are still finite resources, and how you choose to spend them can either contribute to your joy or rob you of it. These individuals may not appear harmful on the surface. In fact, some might seem well-meaning or even affectionate, but over time, the emotional impact of being around them can take a serious toll. By the time you recognize what's happening, the damage may already be done. The good news is, once you begin to see the patterns, you can take back control. You'll learn to protect your energy, set clear and compassionate boundaries, and spend your later years with people who genuinely uplift and support you. That's not just self-care, it's essential for living a fulfilling, joyful life. Before we begin, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. If you enjoy this video, please type 1 in the comments. If you don't like it, type 0 in the comments to let me know so I can make better videos for you. Now let's get started. Number 1. The chronic complainer. Let's begin with the first type of person whose home you should think twice about visiting after 70. The chronic complainer. We've all encountered them at some point. Those individuals who seem to wear misery like a second skin. No matter the weather, the news, or how many blessings they have in life, they always manage to find something to be unhappy about. Maybe it's their aching joints today, the state of politics tomorrow, and by next week it's how no one ever calls or visits. And ironically, they're saying all this to you, while you're sitting in their living room, showing up for them. You walk in hoping for a pleasant visit, a cup of tea, and a warm conversation. Instead, you're greeted with a groan, a complaint, or a rundown of everything that's gone wrong in the past 24 hours. Even when something objectively good happens in their life, like their grandchild winning an award or the sun finally shining after days of rain, they'll quickly shift the narrative towards something that went wrong. Yes, but it won't last, or it doesn't change the real problems, when they'll say. With chronic complainers, negativity isn't a phase, it's a way of life. It becomes the lens through which they view everything and everyone. And unfortunately, if you spend too much time in that environment, their negativity can start to become your mindset too. You see, emotions are deeply contagious. Scientific studies even show that the human brain tends to mirror the emotional states of others. So when you spend hours around someone who's always complaining, it's not just their words you absorb, it's their energy. It creeps into your thoughts, dulls your mood, and alters how you experience the world. You may walk into their home feeling fine and walk out hours later feeling drained, heavy, or even inexplicably irritable, and that effect builds over time. The more you expose yourself to someone who lives in a constant state of dissatisfaction, the more it chips away at your own peace, optimism, and emotional resilience. The danger lies in the slow erosion of your spirit, often so subtle you don't notice it happening until you're already feeling weighed down. It's important to draw a distinction here. There's nothing wrong with supporting someone through a hard time. We all experience pain, grief, and moments when we need to vent. Being there for others is part of what makes life meaningful, but there's a major difference between someone going through a temporary rough patch and someone who habitually thrives on complaining. Chronic complainers don't want your help, they want your attention. They don't seek solutions, they seek validation for their unhappiness. They use your presence to reinforce their view that life is unfair and hopeless. And the more often you visit, the more entangled you become in their emotional web. The tricky part is that it often starts innocently. Maybe it's just a quick remark about how poorly they slept. Then it's a gripe about the neighbor's noisy dog. Next thing you know, every conversation turns into an endless loop of grievances about their health, their family, society, or the unfairness of life itself. And no matter how much advice you offer, how many silver linings you try to point out, or how often you lend a listening ear, nothing ever changes. The same complaints resurface every time, because they're not seeking to grow or shift their perspective. They're just trying to unload their emotional baggage onto someone else, you. Even worse, if you try to steer the conversation in a more positive direction, perhaps share something uplifting from your own life, they might respond by downplaying it, dismissing your joy, or turning it into another opportunity to complain. Tell them your grandchild is getting married, and they'll remind you that marriages don't last. Tell them about your vacation, and they'll say traveling is exhausting. Their mindset is so deeply fixed in negativity that they begin to erode even your good news. The result? You leave their home emotionally depleted rather than refreshed. You came to connect, but you leave disconnected from yourself. And over time, these visits can start to feel less like an act of kindness and more like an emotional sacrifice. So, here's the truth that many of us struggle to accept, especially as we get older and feel a sense of duty to longtime friends or family. You are not required to subject yourself to someone else's toxic outlook just to prove you care. There's a fine line between being supportive and becoming someone's emotional dumping ground. That line matters more than ever in your later years, when emotional well-being is no longer optional, it's vital. After 70, your time is precious. Your energy is not limitless. Every moment spent in a space of chronic negativity is a moment you could have spent cultivating joy, peace, and genuine connection. You are allowed to protect that peace. You are allowed to set boundaries. And you are absolutely allowed to distance yourself from people who constantly drag your spirit down, no matter how long you've known them. Kindness does not mean self-sacrifice. Compassion should not cost you your inner calm. And being a good friend or relative does not mean being available for someone who refuses to even try to choose happiness. You deserve to spend your golden years in the company of those who lift your spirits, not those who weigh you down. Let that truth guide your decisions, and you'll begin to feel lighter, freer, and more alive than you have in years. Number 2. The manipulative user. Now let's talk about the second type of person whose home you should think twice about visiting after 70. The manipulative user. At first glance, they might seem warm, friendly, even grateful to see you. They may greet you with a smile, make you a cup of tea, and start the visit with pleasant small talk. But not long after you settle in, you begin to notice a subtle shift, a favor, a request, a little task they just can't manage on their own. And before you realize what's happening, your visit becomes less about connection and more about convenience. These people rarely call just to see how you're doing. They don't reach out simply to enjoy your company or reminisce about old times. Their invitations often come with strings attached, expectations that are not spoken directly but are very much felt. They're the ones who suddenly remember to call you when their car needs a jump, when they need help printing documents, or when there's something they can't figure out on their own. The truth is, not everyone who opens their door for you values you for who you are. Some only value you for what you can do. At first, their requests might seem small. You're happy to help. After all, that's who you are. You're generous, thoughtful, kind. But over time, a pattern starts to emerge. You realize that you're always the one giving. Your time, your energy, your effort. And they're always the one taking. Every visit starts to feel more like an errand than a social call. And slowly, the joy of spending time with that person fades. What makes manipulative users so difficult to spot is that they're rarely direct. They don't just say, "I need help. Can you come over?" Instead, they wrap their needs in layers of guilt, obligation, or emotional flattery. They'll say things like, "I just don't know what I'd do without you. You're the only one I can count on. Nobody else understands like you do." These phrases might sound sweet on the surface, but they're not always genuine. Often, they're subtle strategies designed to make you feel indispensable, to make you feel responsible for their well-being. And the more you help them, the more they lean in. The visits become more frequent. The requests grow larger, and soon you're fixing their sink, running their errands, helping them manage bills, or doing chores they could very well hire someone to do. But they won't, because they know you'll do it. Out of kindness, out of guilt, out of habit. Here's the problem. These kinds of relationships are not built on mutual respect or love. They are transactional, and often one-sided. True friendship and genuine family bonds are based on give and take. Both people check in on each other. Both offer help and support when needed. But with a manipulative user, the balance is always tilted in their favor. You give, they take. You offer, they expect more. And over time, what once felt like a friendship begins to feel like an unpaid job. Now, you might find yourself justifying this dynamic. Maybe you tell yourself, they don't have anyone else. Or, I'd feel bad if I didn't help. And while it's natural to want to be there for others, especially those who seem alone, you also have to ask yourself a hard question. If the roles were reversed, would they do the same for you? Would they drive across town to help you? Would they clear their schedule to lend you a hand? Would they offer their time if you were in need? If the answer is no, then it's time to consider whether what you're offering is being respected or simply being used. And here's something else to watch for: how they react when you say no. This is often the biggest red flag of all. If you ever decline a request, maybe you're tired, you have plans, or you simply don't want to, they don't respond with understanding or appreciation. Instead, they make you feel guilty. They sigh. They act disappointed. Some may even get passive-aggressive or outright angry. That reaction tells you everything you need to know. Your relationship isn't about connection. It's about control. After 70, you've earned the right to spend your time on your terms. You shouldn't have to spend your golden years catering to people who see your kindness as an opportunity to manipulate. Your energy is not infinite. Your free time is sacred, and your presence should be appreciated, not exploited. If every visit leaves you feeling used, unappreciated, or emotionally manipulated, it's okay to take a step back. Setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's self-preservation. You are not here to play the role of caretaker, chauffeur, or emotional crutch to someone who would never return the favor. You deserve friendships that feel light, joyful, and mutual. You deserve visits that leave you smiling, not sighing. You deserve to spend your time with people who value you as a person, not just as a resource. And if you're watching this right now and nodding your head, if you've recognized someone in your life who fits this pattern, you're not alone. Many people, especially as they age, find themselves surrounded by individuals who have learned to take advantage of their generosity. But you have the power to change that. You don't need permission to walk away from a one-sided relationship. You just need clarity and the courage to choose your peace. If this message resonates with you, let me know by commenting number 2 below. And if you haven't already, subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss a video that helps you live your best, most empowered life. Your support allows us to keep creating meaningful content to guide and inspire you. Number 3. The drama magnet. Let's move on to the third kind of person whose home you may want to avoid visiting after 70, the drama magnet. These are the people who seem to attract chaos like a moth to a flame. But more often than not, they're the ones lighting the fire. Drama isn't something that happens to them, it's something they stir up, feed off of, and invite into every conversation, every relationship, and every moment. You might drop by their home expecting a warm, peaceful visit, perhaps just to chat over coffee or to catch up on old times, but instead you find yourself being pulled into a long, emotionally charged monologue about who betrayed them this week, who insulted them last month, or how everyone seems to be out to get them. It's never just one incident. There's always a crisis, a feud, a misunderstanding, or an enemy in their narrative. Always. They thrive on being at the center of a storm, and if there isn't a storm brewing, they'll create one. Peace, to a drama magnet, feels unfamiliar, unsettling. So they stir the pot by gossiping about mutual acquaintances, exaggerating petty disagreements, or twisting details to paint themselves as the misunderstood victim. Even a passing comment from someone else can become the spark that ignites a days-long saga, and they don't just want you to listen, they want you to take sides. They want you to validate their version of the story, share their outrage, and distance yourself from whoever they've currently decided is against them. If you try to remain neutral, they'll keep nudging, prodding, and pushing until neutrality is no longer an option. You might notice that when you agree with them, they reward you. They open up more, tell you the real story, feed you more gossip, But if you dare disagree or even just try to change the subject, they may suddenly become cold, defensive, or offended, and that's when the tables turn. You become the next topic in their ongoing drama saga. That's the exhausting truth about people who live in a constant state of turmoil. Eventually, everyone close to them becomes part of the plot. You're no longer just a visitor or a friend. You're a character in their soap opera. And no matter how hard you try to stay on the sidelines, they'll keep dragging you onto center stage. What makes these visits especially draining is that the conversation is rarely uplifting or constructive. There's no joy in rehashing the same conflicts over and over again. There's no peace in sitting through hours of one-sided emotional unloading. And slowly but surely, you start to feel it. A tightness in your chest, a weariness in your spirit, and a sense of tension that lingers long after you've left. At first, you might mistake it for just having a lot going on. Maybe you chalk it up to them being passionate, sensitive, or just temporarily upset. But time reveals the truth. The chaos isn't occasional. It's constant. It's not the result of bad luck. It's a habit, a lifestyle. Here's the danger. If you spend too much time around someone like this, their worldview starts to seep into yours. You become more cynical, more suspicious, more reactive. You start anticipating conflict instead of enjoying connection. And you may even begin avoiding other relationships out of fear of getting caught in more drama. Real friendship doesn't feel like walking through a minefield. Real companionship doesn't make you feel like you have to censor yourself or tiptoe around someone's emotional triggers. If visiting someone's home feels more like entering a battlefield than a place of comfort and calm, it's time to ask yourself a hard but necessary question. Why do I keep going back? As we age, we gain clarity about what truly matters. And one of the most valuable lessons is this: peace is priceless. In your 60s, 70s, and beyond, you should be surrounding yourself with people who bring you joy, not anxiety. With friends who offer support, not stress. With loved ones who lift you up, not pull you into their never-ending whirlwind of emotional chaos. You're not obligated to be someone's sounding board. You don't owe anyone your emotional energy, especially when it's being drained by repetitive, toxic drama that brings no resolution, only more noise. It's okay to step away, to create distance, to protect your space. If someone thrives on chaos at the cost of your peace of mind, you have every right to limit your exposure. You're not abandoning them. You're choosing yourself. And that choice, especially in your later years, is one of the most empowering ones you can make. If this resonates with you, if you've ever left someone's home feeling drained and anxious instead of light and joyful, go ahead and comment number 3 below to let me know you're still with me. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss a video that helps you live with more peace, purpose, and positivity. Number 4. The negative nostalgic and final thoughts. Number 4 is the one we call the negative nostalgic. These individuals aren't necessarily loud or dramatic, and they may not appear toxic on the surface. In fact, you might even feel a sense of familiarity or comfort in their presence, especially if they're a longtime friend or family member. But over time, their constant focus on the past begins to cast a long shadow over the present. Unlike those who reminisce with warmth or who share old stories to teach or inspire, the negative nostalgic dwells in the past with a heavy heart. Their conversations are not about fond memories or cherished moments. Instead, they revolve around regrets, betrayals, lost opportunities, and disappointments they've never quite let go of. You walk into their home expecting a pleasant visit, but before long you're listening to the same old grievances: who wronged them decades ago, how life didn't turn out the way they wanted, how the world was better back then, and how everything today pales in comparison. At first you might listen out of politeness, even sympathy, but after enough visits you'll notice a pattern. Their world is frozen in resentment. And slowly, if you're not careful, that negativity begins to seep into your own heart and mind. Spending time with someone like this can shift your entire perspective. You might leave their home feeling more tired, more emotionally burdened, and more cynical than when you walked in. You might even find yourself replaying old regrets of your own, regrets you thought you had already made peace with. That's the subtle power of the negative nostalgic. They don't just live in the past, they pull you back with them, making it harder for you to stay grounded in the joys of the present and the possibilities of the future. And the danger here is that when you're repeatedly exposed to that kind of mindset, it can begin to feel like truth. You start believing that the best days are behind you, that joy is out of reach, and that aging is just a slow slide into sorrow. But the truth is far different. Aging is not the end. It's an opportunity. It's a season of life rich with reflection, purpose, and peace, if you choose to surround yourself with the right energy. There is absolutely nothing wrong with honoring the past. It's normal, even beautiful, to share stories, remember loved ones, and reflect on lessons learned. But when the past becomes a prison rather than a place of perspective, when someone uses it as a constant reminder of pain rather than growth, it's time to be cautious. We all carry scars, and some people carry more than others. But if someone insists on reopening old wounds over and over again, and worse, invites you to bleed with them, that is not a relationship that nourishes your spirit. That's a relationship that stunts your growth. After the age of 70, it becomes more important than ever to guard your peace of mind. You've worked hard, lived through challenges, and earned the right to enjoy your time, and that means making conscious choices about who gets access to your energy. The people in your life should help you feel lighter, not heavier. They should remind you of what's still possible, not convince you that everything good is already gone. So as we close out this conversation, take a moment to reflect on the 4 types of people we've discussed: the chronic complainer, the manipulative user, the drama magnet, and the negative nostalgic. Have you ever found yourself walking out of someone's home feeling more depleted than when you arrived? Feeling like you've had your energy siphoned away, or that your thoughts have turned darker and more doubtful? That's a powerful sign. It doesn't mean you're unkind or impatient. It means you're self-aware. It means your inner compass is pointing toward a life of peace and purpose. After 70, your emotional and mental well-being should be non-negotiable. And being selective about the company you keep isn't selfish. It's self-respect. This doesn't mean cutting people off impulsively or without compassion. Some people can change. Some relationships can be repaired. But what it does mean is that you need to listen to how you feel. Pay attention after each visit. Do you feel drained, burdened, or resentful? Or do you feel energized, seen, and at peace? The people you spend time with should lift you up, not weigh you down. You are not responsible for someone else's negativity, nor are you required to serve as an emotional dumping ground or sounding board for endless complaints, manipulation, or unresolved trauma. Your time is yours. Your golden years belong to you. And you deserve to spend them with people who see your value, who respect your peace, and who help you celebrate what's still ahead, not just mourn what's behind. So ask yourself, who in your life makes you feel joyful, hopeful, and appreciated? Whose presence makes your heart feel light and your spirit feel calm? Those are the people worth holding close, and for those who consistently make you feel the opposite, it's okay to love them from a distance. Life is too short, and this chapter of life is too precious, to spend it in homes that dim your light instead of helping it shine. Thank you for spending time with us today. If this video resonated with you, please comment number 4 below so we know you're still here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time. Hit that button and turn on the bell so you don't miss future content. We're committed to bringing you thoughtful, compassionate guidance that helps you make the most of your time, energy, and relationships. Until next time, stay well, stay strong, and stay true to what makes you feel alive.